Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free English ebook before it's gone. When learning a new language, everyone should have an ultimate goal to work towards. Whether you want to be able to connect with a relative, easily order food while traveling, or go somewhere new, having an end goal for your learning can be very motivating. A popular but challenging goal is being able to speak like a native speaker. It's difficult to measure exactly when you reach this goal, and it's not something you can pick up using textbooks alone. So how do you work on making your speech more natural? That's what we're going to look at today. Here are 3 tips to help you practice talking like a native speaker. Number 1, focus on vocabulary. If your goal is to speak like a native, you might be really focused on speaking quickly or using as many complex grammar patterns as possible. But in our native languages, we're not always trying to speak as fast as possible, and we use complex grammar patterns when necessary, not to show off. Vocabulary, however, is extremely important to expressing ourselves naturally. Your choice of words can reveal a lot about you and your understanding of the language. Most learners have had the experience of using a phrasebook or a dictionary to find a word they want to use, trying the word in conversation, and getting a look of confusion from the native speaker. In some cases, although your word choice may be grammatically correct, the word may be inappropriate for the situation or totally unnatural. This is especially important in business and other formal situations, where the right level of formality and professionalism is key. Being able to understand nuances in vocabulary words can also help you understand relationships between people just by listening to the conversation. Try to listen to many different types of conversations. Listen to how people talk to their friends, their superiors, and in customer service situations. This will give you a better idea of how to talk to others naturally. In some languages, you can omit words from sentences or use more direct communication styles. It's important to be aware of these things so you can apply them yourself. Colloquialisms and slang are also commonly used in most languages. As this sort of vocabulary is always evolving, it can be difficult to keep up with the latest words. Talk with native speakers and consume media in your target language to make sure you pick up these kinds of expressions. Media is a great resource for your learning. Ultimately, knowing the appropriate vocabulary to use for each situation will really help you sound more knowledgeable. Number 2, perfect your accent. With every language, there are unique pronunciation and intonation challenges. Some languages are tonal languages, and a change in pitch can completely change the meaning of a word. Then there's the fact that most countries have multiple dialects, and so people from one area of the country may sound different from those in another. So what is the best way to listen to a wide range of accents and different pronunciations? Video and audio resources are a great way to do this. YouTube is a perfect place to start because people from all kinds of different backgrounds upload videos to the platform. You can watch educational videos, daily life vlogs, cooking shows, a travel series, whatever interests you. Pay attention to the different ways people speak. Everyone is unique. And then practice speaking like them. This kind of practice can help you sound more natural. One note, please be aware of the type of resources you're using. For example, if you find a video where a speaker uses a rare dialect, it might not be a good idea to use that for your pronunciation practice, unless you have a special reason for studying a specific accent. As a general rule, it's best to try to search for practice resources that use a standard form of the language you're studying. Number 3, copy what you hear. Do you remember how you learned to speak as a child? We rarely learned new words just listening to them, or reading after we learned how. When we were little kids, we imitated the sounds we heard by repeating the sounds out loud. While you're talking to a friend, watching videos, or listening to audio in your target language, you can do this to try and replicate the way they speak. Doing this will help you work on mastering the flow of the language, your accent, intonation, and pronunciation. Of course, you might also pick up some new vocabulary this way. Make sure to repeat new words often. It's a great way to make sure you remember them. Try doing this using a number of different mediums and sources. That way, you'll be exposed to the diversity that the language offers and master the fundamentals of pronunciation. For example, You can watch and imitate several different YouTube videos and audio CDs, but try a few different sources, like different creators or different audio types, to make sure you experience a wide range of communication in your target language. If you're using our language learning program, you can even get your own teacher with Premium Plus. Your teacher can answer questions, give assignments, and even listen to your recordings and give you advice on pronunciation. Completing these kinds of lessons with a native teacher can really boost your confidence in your speaking skills. Becoming able to speak like a native is a popular goal for many people learning a new language. It feels great to be able to communicate smoothly, especially when the people you're talking to expect basic level sentences or broken communication. Try using the tips we've shared in this video to work on improving your speaking skills. Of course, it'll take time and persistence, but the reward will be more natural communication. And for even more tips on speaking, check out our complete language learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Get tons of resources to have you speaking in your target language. And if you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary, followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
We'd like to thank all of you for flying with us and hope you have a safe stay in the Tampa Bay area. This landing is going to be very difficult.
Yes, it will. I never thought I'd be on a plane heading toward a hurricane.
I was once, but we weren't this close. You could see the eye of the storm from flight altitude.
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Flying.
Moving or able to move through the air with wings.
Flying. Flying.
Our second word is
Safe.
metal container where valuables, money, are kept.
Safe. Safe.
Our third word is
Stay.
time spent in a place.
Stay. Stay.
Our next word is
Pilot.
a person who flies a plane.
Pilot. Pilot.
Next we have
Plane.
an airplane.
Plane. Plane.
Next is
Hurricane.
a storm of violent wind, a tropical cyclone in the Caribbean.
Hurricane. Hurricane.
Next we have
Altitude.
the height of an object or point in relation to sea level or ground level.
Altitude. Altitude.
And our last word is
Toward.
in the direction of.
Toward. Toward.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
We'd like to thank all of you for flying with us and hope you have a safe stay in the Tampa Bay area. This landing is going to be very difficult.
Yes, it will. I never thought I'd be on a plane heading toward a hurricane.
I was once, but we weren't this close. You could see the eye of the storm from flight altitude.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary, followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Could you hand me the comb?
Yep, here you go.
Thanks. Do you think this Mardi Gras costume fits me?
I think it looks fabulous.
Did you know that this is my first time in New Orleans?
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Comb.
A strip of plastic, metal, or wood with a row of narrow teeth used for untangling or arranging hair.
Comb. Comb.
Our second word is
Costume.
set of clothes for a specific occasion, possibly meant to make the wearer look like someone or something else.
Costume. Costume.
Next we have
Fabulous.
extraordinary, amazingly good.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Our next word is
First.
the starting item or person in a lineup.
First. First.
Next is
Time.
a moment, hour, day, or year.
Time. Time.
Next we have
Fits.
to be of the right size or shape.
Fits. Fits.
And our last word is
Mardi Gras.
a carnival celebration held, most famously, in New Orleans.
Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Could you hand me the comb?
Yep, here you go.
Thanks. Do you think this Mardi Gras costume fits me?
I think it looks fabulous.
Did you know that this is my first time in New Orleans?
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. Welcome back to Top Words. Today we're going to talk about 10 ways to stop translating in your head. Let's get started. Identify objects around you in English. The first way to stop translating in your head is to identify the objects around you in your target language. So if you're studying English, that means you look at the objects around the room, look at the things in your life. Don't think of them in your native language first. Think of them in your target language first. So if I look around the room, I see a computer, I shouldn't think my native language word, I should think my target language word. So start with the items and the situations in your everyday life. If I say computer in English, maybe I should say computer in Japanese. I should say not, water in English. I should say omizu in Japanese. So start associating the words in your target language with your everyday life now. So if you're studying English, that means start getting familiar with the things in your everyday life in English. Repeat phrases you hear native speakers use. Tip number 2 is to repeat the phrases that you hear native speakers use. So if you're watching this channel, for example, or you're watching a TV show or a movie, Listen for the way that native speakers make those phrases. If you hear a phrase you have never heard before, or you hear an interesting combination of words, try to repeat them yourself. Don't just listen. Try to say them yourself. If you're in a public space and it's difficult for you to do that, fine. Practice in a place where you feel more comfortable. Maybe if you have some private space to practice. Just repeat them. Get your mouth used to saying the words the way that the native speakers do. So if you never actually say words, if you're only taking in, if you're only listening and you're not actually producing the language, it's kind of hard to practice and to really hone your pronunciation, to improve your pronunciation. So when you listen to native speakers, try to repeat after them. So for example, if you're studying English, you can try to repeat after this video. You can repeat after the things I'm saying, because maybe I'm using an expression or I'm using a certain series of vocabulary words together the way a native speaker would. And it's maybe a good idea to try to practice the ways that native speakers put their words together. So try to repeat after native speakers, especially when you're looking at media. And you can do this when you're reading books too. You can try to read out loud interesting lines of books that you find or something that maybe is difficult for you. Very nice practice tip. Make a situation where you can't escape into your native language. Make a situation where you can't escape into your native language essentially means immerse yourself. Of course, going to that country or going to a place where you can speak only that language is very difficult for some of you. Totally understand. But if in your life you can create a situation in your library, in your room, in your house, somewhere, for just an hour or, I don't know, maybe a day. I don't know what your schedule is like. But if you can create a situation or create an environment where you have no choice but to use that language and you cannot escape, meaning you cannot go back to using your native language as a crutch. You can't use the native language at all. It forces you to use the language that you're studying. So, of course, if you are lucky enough to live in the country or to live in a place where people speak the language you're studying, great. But you have to go out and interact with people. You have to put yourself in a place where you have no choice but to speak. It's very hard and it's very scary and it's very embarrassing at first. But if you take time to find places and to make environments that are comfortable for you, where you feel comfortable making mistakes and asking questions, it's very valuable for your learning process. This is actually something that I did. I totally did this. My Japanese wasn't very good for a long time, but then I started making friends who could not speak English. Actually, I just did this through finding hobbies. There was a hobby that I had. I joined a group. I joined actually a school where I could learn how to do that hobby. And everything was taught only in Japanese. And the people in my class only spoke Japanese, mostly. And then maybe we would go out for drinks and food late at night or on the weekends, and everybody spoke only Japanese. And if I couldn't communicate even simply in Japanese, I had no hope of keeping that friendship together. So it forced me to study. It forced me to think about the words they were using and to try to learn those words, those patterns, as well as how to produce them naturally myself. So I was learning the vocabulary words the people around me were using and learning how to apply them on my own. That was only possible because I had no escape in those situations. So try to do that, even if you can do it yourself in your house. It's super helpful, I think. Watch TV and movies in your target language without subtitles. Tip number 4 is to watch TV and movies in your target language without subtitles. So I think that watching with subtitles can be very beneficial. So if I'm watching something, or if you want to watch something with subtitles on, great. But I sometimes find that in my case, I think too much about reading the subtitles and I forget to listen. So maybe if you've seen a movie in your target language a few times with the subtitles on, try turning the subtitles off and think about the character's body language, the words they're using. You can always look that up later. Look up the words you don't know in a dictionary, but try to do it where you're focusing completely on the way that people are using their words. Try not to use the subtitles. So kind of play around with it a little bit. If there's a word that's difficult for you to hear, you can actually turn on the subtitles in the native language of the movie as well. That's something that I've done. If I wanted to study Japanese, it's very useful when the actual words spoken in Japanese appear on the screen. Sometimes it's easier for me to catch a word if I see it visually and I hear it at the same time. So another way to kind of explore how you can use TV and movies is to actually turn on the closed captions, like the words on the screen in the native language of the movie. So this is sort of 2 points in one. So 1, watch movies without subtitles, meaning subtitles in your native language. And hint 2 is to watch movies with closed captioning on, but the closed captioning is in your target language, not in your native language. So you can try those 2 things with TV and with movies. Don't bring a dictionary to your lesson. Tip number 5 is don't bring a dictionary to your lesson. Okay, so give me a second here. So I understand that dictionaries, especially electronic dictionaries, we have them on our phones now, are very, very convenient. Of course, it's important to use them, and they're a great resource to have. However, one thing that really bothers me and that I think is detrimental, it's not helpful for students, is when students are in a lesson and they're practicing conversation and they reach a point in the conversation where they don't know the word they want to use. They know it in their native language and they don't know how to say it in their target language. They pull out their dictionary. They say to the person listening to them, their practice partner in their lesson where they have a limited period of time, just a moment. And then they look it up on their phone and it takes a few seconds, the flow of the conversation stops, and then they say a word. And it's like, whoa, no, you don't have that ability. You don't have the ability to do that in a conversation with a native speaker. Most people, like if you go to a bank and try to open a bank account, are you really going to pull out your dictionary and sit there and try to communicate, just a moment, as you look up each word you don't know? No. Or if you do, that's not a real conversation. So instead, try using a different strategy. By that, I mean, if you find a word you don't know in conversation, explain the word to your conversation partner. Maybe they know the word. If you're speaking with a native speaker, this is a chance for them to teach you a word. I find that when people take the time to teach me a word, I remember the word much better than just looking it up on my dictionary. So try to resist. Maybe you can bring a dictionary to your lesson, but don't use it or try not to use it in your conversation practice. It destroys the flow of a conversation. So instead, practice the skill of describing the vocabulary word you want to use and learn how to ask the meaning of a word or learn how to ask for a vocabulary word from your partner. So you can use an expression like, what's the word that means blah, blah, blah. Or, it's this thing that does this and this and this. So this is an opportunity for you to describe characteristics of something or find a different way. You can use your body language. You can use whatever. You have a lot of tools, but try not to use a dictionary in a conversation because it's not realistic. Train responses to common questions. Number 6 is a quick one, I think. Hint number 6 I have is just to train responses to common questions. Train responses to common questions. So, for example, a very common question in English is, hey, how are you? You should know how to answer this question. Just have a default response. Hey, how are you? I'm good. If it takes you a long time to answer the question, hey, how are you? You need to practice. I think that's a pretty good indicator. So, for example, sometimes I ask students a question like that they haven't quite gotten the idea of how to respond just yet. They're not so quick at responding. I say, hey, how are you? And they say, yes. And then they think and they go, I'm good. And it's like, that's a very common question. So think about just a default response that you can spit out, that you can quickly say. If it's, how was your weekend? Or, hey, what's up? Or what do you want to do for dinner tonight? Think about like just a handful, meaning just a few responses to those questions and train them quickly. Just, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm okay. How are you? Not bad. There's 3. So it's just training responses to those questions. There's no reason to be surprised by a question like, how are you? Like, that's a very common question. So for those common questions, train responses to that. We've got a bunch of videos, especially beginner level videos, for some example responses you can do. So don't get stuck with these little questions. Just train a few responses, practice a few responses till they feel natural to you. It'll save you time and it'll help the person asking the question too to move forward in the conversation. Yay! Study with materials that don't provide a translation. The next tip is to study with materials that don't provide a translation. So by this I mean, if you're using worksheets or some kind of textbook or whatever, and it has your target language, the language you're studying, and it has your native language next to it. While this can be useful, I feel that if you can, studying your materials only in your target language and then simplified explanations for more detailed points, also in your target language, can be a little bit better. So I don't want to say like you should only study things in your target language and nothing from your native language, because of course like it can be helpful sometimes to look up a word or to understand a grammar point in your native language. But where possible, if you can find something that provides simplified explanations in your target language, it can be really, really helpful because again, you're learning to think on like a simpler, on a more basic level about the language you're studying in the language that you're studying. So this can be really, really good. So finding some materials to use where there's no translation. Maybe you can practice, of course, with books and with written materials, but also with like video materials as well. So there are a variety of different ways that you can find materials in your target language, like in video and TV. So some things to think about there are the level of vocabulary words people are using in the media content you're watching, who the media content is intended for, children, young adults, the speed at which the speaker is talking. So like I have the ability to change the level of difficulty of videos based on the rate of speech, the vocabulary words that I use, and how many like idioms and things I use. So I could make a video very difficult. We could make a very difficult video series by leveling up our vocabulary use or by speaking very quickly. Or, as you might see in like our English in 3 Minutes series, we can also use very simple vocabulary and speak at a low rate of speech. So maybe right now this is a very intermediate level video. So please think about that. So not just for written materials, but also for your audio and visual materials. Think about who your audience is, the level of the material, and so on. It can be really fun. And it can be helpful to think about your target language in your target language. All right, we're almost done. Study phrases in addition to single vocabulary. The next tip is study phrases in addition to single vocabulary words. So yes, of course, vocabulary is important, but I find it personally very, very useful to look at how a vocabulary word is used in a phrase, because sometimes using it in a phrase helps you understand the nuance of that vocabulary word really, really well. So if like a word like crazy, for example, in English, depending on the situation where the word crazy is used, it could mean something different. It could mean like a person who is mentally confused or mixed up. It could also mean something really good. It could mean something really bad. So if we look only at the word crazy, it's quite difficult to understand really the meaning of the word. But if you look at the way the word is used in a phrase, you can get a lot more information. So take a look at the way people use words in phrases, not just as single vocabulary words. You can learn a lot more that way, I think. Do your daily activities in English where possible. The next tip is to do your daily activities in your target language. So if you're studying English, that means try to do some daily activities in English if possible. So this can be very, very boring stuff, but just think about it when you're doing the activity. So like right now, I'm filming a video for EnglishClass101.com, or I'm going to work, I'm cooking breakfast, I'm doing the laundry. What do I have to do tomorrow? So try thinking about your everyday life in English if you're studying English. Try thinking about your everyday activities, the people that you meet. What are you doing? So this is a way to help you practice your verbs. So if you don't know, if you're, you're doing something at work and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I explain what's the verb for, a picture? Like I want to blah, 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 a picture. What's the word? You can check a dictionary at that point and go, it's draw. I need to use the verb draw for draw a picture. So you can find these little gaps in your everyday life, these little gaps in your knowledge, if you think about your everyday activities in your target language. If you don't think about it in your target language, you might not realize you have vocabulary gaps or phrase gaps here and there. So this is a really good and kind of funny, actually, way to study. Use a learner's dictionary for new words. The last tip is to use a learner's dictionary for new words. So in English, there are learner's dictionaries available in English. So my personal favorite is Merriam-Webster. Merriam-Webster is a fantastic dictionary resource. They're so interesting and they have tons of historical information. I really do just sit and read things on the dictionary page lately. It's true. But of course, there's a definition, there's a meaning for words, there are example sentences for words, but Merriam-Webster also has what's called a learner's dictionary. If you find a word that you don't recognize, you can check it in a dictionary, in a learner's dictionary, and it gives you a simple explanation in simple English of that word. So instead of checking it in your native language, you can check it in your target language. So again, this helps you to understand the word that you're focused on, but you understand it from the language you're studying, not from your native language. So using a learner's dictionary can be really, really useful as well. All right, so those are 10 tips. Those are 10 tips to help you stop translating in your head. I know it's very difficult, but it takes time and it takes practice, and I hope that these are a few strategies that can help you as you study any language. Of course, this is an English language channel, an English language learning channel, but I think these tips are pretty good for learning just about any language, really. So I hope those are useful for you. If you have tried these strategies, or if you have any other comments or other tips, please let us know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, share this video, and subscribe to our channel too. Check us out at EnglishClass101.com for more good stuff as well. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Top Words, and I will see you again soon. Bye!
Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary, followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Okay, everybody. Shift information has been posted for the month. It looks like we'll visit 25 cities in 30 days.
Do we normally visit 25 different cities in 1 month?
Yes, sometimes we visit even more.
Where's our first stop?
Charlotte.
Hey, I have friends in Charlotte. It would be nice to see them.
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Shift.
Scheduled time for a person to work.
Shift. Shift. Posted.
Affixed or placed on a wall, board, or website.
Posted. Posted. Month.
Any of the 12 divisions of the calendar year.
Month. Month. Visit.
To go to and stay at a place for a short period of time.
Visit. Visit. 30.
A cardinal number representing the third cycle of 10.
30. 30. Normally.
In a normal or regular way.
Normally. Normally. Different.
Not alike. Dissimilar.
Different. Different. Cities.
2 or more large or important towns.
Cities. Cities. Stop.
An interruption in a journey.
Stop. Stop.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Okay, everybody. Shift information has been posted for the month. It looks like we'll visit 25 cities in 30 days.
Do we normally visit 25 different cities in 1 month?
Yes, sometimes we visit even more.
Where's our first stop?
Charlotte.
Hey, I have friends in Charlotte. It would be nice to see them.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia and today I am joined again in the studio by
Michael, hello.
And today we're going to be talking about things that were cool in the 90s. So things that were interesting or things that maybe we were interested in the 90s. I'm guessing that we're going to have some very different opinions based on our experiences at the 90s. So let's get right into it. Michael, your first item, please.
Okay. Boy bands. So I remember boy bands were very, very popular when I was a kid in the 90s. I had 3 older brothers who would punch me and tell me boy bands are for girls, don't like boy bands. So that was my experience with them. And they became kind of uncool, I feel like, after the 90s. And then they never were uncool in like Korea and like a lot of Asian countries. They still had like a strong boy band kind of scene or whatever.
Man bands now.
Is that really what they're called?
No, I don't know. I just mean, I feel like there are boy bands.
That are now becoming boys to men. Maybe that's the... So, I mean, now it came back. Like, what's the British one? Now it's kind of cool again.
Oh, One Direction.
One Direction, yeah. So I think it's come back. It's full circle.
Didn't they just break up? I'm going to go with something that I loved in the 90s. This is probably way too specific. Probably. But it's this show called Doug that was on Nickelodeon. And there weren't a whole lot of episodes of Doug. It was, I don't know, like 20 or 30, I feel like. Not even that many. Did you ever see this show?
Yeah. That's very nostalgic for me. 20, 30 episodes?
I feel like I'd seen them all, so I know that I saw them all because it would come on one day after school and I'd be like, oh, I've seen this episode. But the whole idea with Doug is Doug was like this plain kid, and he had an older sister, he went to school, he had a dog, he had a best friend, and he would just encounter these everyday life scenarios that would be kind of troubling, or he wouldn't know how to deal with them. But like he was kind of a role model, I feel like. He was kind of being like a good kid. Or sometimes he would get into trouble, but then, eventually he would solve the problem or he'd find a way out of it. So, but I really loved that show. I really loved Nickelodeon in general during the 90s. And yeah, did you watch that channel?
Yeah, of course. I loved Nickelodeon. I think I was more like Fox, stuff like that. But I guess I'll segue into another one of mine. You're talking about wholesome. So something that's my childhood. I was raised on TV with sitcoms.
Yeah.
So I think this has kind of died down again, like the boy bands, where people think it's cheesy. Now it's all reality TV shows, that kind of stuff. But that is my childhood right there. Is Full House and these kinds of shows, step by step, where there's a moral at the end of the story. And so there's always kind of like the protagonist is always like maybe he's unsure, but by the end they know the right thing to do, and they play like the violin, kind of sad, not quite sad, but like heartwarming music, and then they're like, well, and then they give a speech. And as a kid, you don't really like think about it, but that gets into your like man, deep because of Full House. If you lie, I've learned this, it's deep in my subconscious. If you lie and then you keep lying, it snowballs and it gets worse and worse and worse. So it's best to just right away tell the truth. That was a really common theme in most sitcoms, I think. That like they're just trying to teach kids don't lie, it's bad.
Yeah, you're right. Sitcoms are huge. And by the way, sitcoms is a portmanteau meaning two words put together, of situation and comedy. So situation and comedy equals sitcom in this case. Okay, nice. I'm gonna go to my next one. Let's see. I think probably every little girl in the 90s in America anyway knew what this was. I don't know if you knew. It's this brand called Lisa Frank. Lisa Frank. Are you aware of Lisa Frank? Are you aware of Lisa Frank? No? Okay. She knows. She knows who Lisa Frank is. So Lisa Frank is just bright. It was always like brightly colored school supplies. Like pinks and purples and blues, and it would always have unicorns and dolphins and mystical creatures. It was just bright, and everybody, all the girls loved it. I loved it. I had Lisa Frank, just whatever I could get my hands on. It'd be pencils or erasers or just pinks and rainbows and hearts and stuff like that. So I think every girl who grew up in the 90s knows what Lisa Frank is.
Ah, okay. So talking about style and whatnot, grunge. Grunge is something that hits close to home for me, and I think that came out of the 90s. Everybody knows around the world. I think most people know Nirvana, Kurt Cobain. Yeah. And this is something that I guess was brought to the world from Seattle, and it was a music genre, and it's like rock, but sometimes slower, almost emo, kind of like sad, usually undertones. But anyways, the style that came with it was the opposite of like the 80s and early 90s of really bright colors. It was the opposite. You just wear holey jeans, you don't really shower that much, you don't shave, and like plaid and just really like dreary colors. So that was really popular. At least I remember in like the early 90s, like mid 90s.
Yeah, and it's as soon as I saw that card grunge, I was like, oh, Nirvana. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I hear grunge. I didn't get into the grunge scene though. I was busy with boy bands, but like grunge for me was never really. I was aware of Nirvana, but I was not of the Nirvana pod. Okay, I'm going to go to a style point then too, because you've brought up a style point. I'll bring up maybe a female style point. Scrunchies, still popular perhaps among some people. What is a scrunchie? A scrunchie, let's see, I don't have, so there's regular rubber bands that you can use to tie back long hair. He's making an O shape with his hand. Yes, this is very descriptive, Michael. Thank you for that.
I'm the prop, and then you go like this. Digga, 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 digga. There's like the.
I bet there's an awesome video team somewhere that can put like a scrunchie like right here. Anyway, a scrunchie is just a piece of elastic with some kind of colorful cloth wrapped around it, but when not in use, it would go and it would scrunch. I think this is why we call it a scrunchie. But then when you pulled on it, you could expand it a bit and wrap your hair up in it. And then when you were finished doing that, it would kind of close around it. I had a couple.
Nintendo, any game-related stuff. I remember Game Boys, anything handheld. Except when I was a kid, it wasn't like this fancy 3D, highly like vibrant colors. Mm-hmm. It was like black and white, and like you'd play it in the car and you had to squint and it hurts your head, if you're playing too much, you're getting like car sick and you're like, you can barely see Mario.
Are you talking about Game Boy?
Game Boy. Or any, like there was handheld too. There was like Atari and stuff like that, and like Sega. Sega was pretty good, that would light up.
I was thinking about NES when you said Nintendo. I imagined my NES. The one that like when it wasn't working correctly, you could just pull the cassette out and be like, and put it back in.
So you put the cartridge in here, right? And sometimes if it was really stubborn and it didn't work, you would blow into this part. And you try, and it really doesn't make a difference. But you would take turns. Like me and my brothers would be like, no, you want to be the one to get it to work. So you take turns, you're like, no, let me. And just by luck, it would work. And you're like, see, yeah. No, this is super nostalgic. I love Nintendo.
I have a game too. Pogs. Did you have Pogs?
Yeah.
Okay, Pogs are simultaneously the most brilliant game and the stupidest game ever invented. They're just discs of cardboard about this size. And on one side, there's a picture. And on the other side, there's just nothing. And then you had a thing called a slammer, which was essentially just a heavy Pog that you would use. And you had to use the slammer to flip the plain cardboard ones. What? I don't even know. It was that stupid and forgettable of a game. But it was like crazy when I was about, I don't know, like second or third grade or something. Everybody had Pogs. Like we had Pog gym days at my school. I remember this vividly.
America, we're really obese. Let's go into the gym and sit there and smash cardboard. That'll solve the problem.
We played Pogs. And like I was telling her before we started this, like one day, like my mom wanted me to get a haircut and I was just being stubborn and I wasn't having it. I was in the mall. I was like, I don't want to get a haircut. She's like, I'll buy you Pogs. And she did. It was like this giant tube of Pogs and I was just so thrilled and I agreed to get my haircut. Well, that was a lot of things that were exciting and or popular and or we were into in the 90s. What were you into in the 90s? What was popular in your country? I really have no idea what was popular around the world at that time. Maybe some of these things are similar. Please let us know in the comments. I'm very interested to find out. We read these, by the way. Any thoughts? Any closing thoughts about the 90s? You're not going to sing a song for us? No boy band songs?
Oh, that's copyright. We can't do that. Just like blur that all out.
No, that was very accurate, so I'm sure we can use that. And by very accurate, I mean totally wrong. Clearly, we're very good at talking about the 90s. Okay, but we hope that you are too. We hope that you learned something exciting about the 90s. That's all for us today. Thanks very much for watching, and we will see you again soon. Bye! Hi, everybody. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined again in the studio by
Michael. Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about English conversation strategies. So let's get right into it. Let's start with Michael. What is your first strategy for keeping an English conversation going?
This is very important. Don't say, I'm fine, thank you, and you. You hear this all the time from second language English learners or non-native speakers. You learn this, it's one of the first things you learn in an English class. It's easy, it's good, it's basic, it's foundation. Okay, that's fine. But as soon as you can, switch it up. Because to me, when I meet a foreigner, they come up, and if they say, hey, how are you? Say, oh, I'm fine, I'm good, whatever. How about you? And they say, I'm fine, thank you, and you. And it's almost robotic because I've said it so many times. And when I hear that, I think, their English isn't that good. And inside, I'm just gonna be really polite and say, hello, and talk slowly and try to get out of there as quick as I can. So really impress the foreigner. In my opinion, I think the best way to do it is say something, use a big word or just like a slang word, something like that. When I hear that, I go, wow, man, I want to know what this person thinks. I want to get their point of view and I'm really excited. And then I've had great conversations because of that.
That's a really, really good one. And actually, I think on this YouTube channel, from a couple years ago, there's a video all about better answers to the question, how are you, than I'm fine, thank you, and you. Or if someone says, hey, how are you? I go, I'm good, you? Or fine, you? Never, I'm fine, thank you, and you. Never. But try to actually use, a phrase that a native speaker would use. And then that's a clue to the native speaker that, oh, maybe this person is ready for a conversation beyond, basic English. So that's a really good point. I like that. I didn't think of things not to do. I only thought of things to do. So, okay, cool. Let's see. Let's go to my first one. So, this strategy in general is just ask the other person a question. I think, and I'm guilty of this too when I'm learning another language, I tend to only get input. Like somebody else is always asking me the questions, and then I forget myself to ask the other person a question. So one question that I like to ask, or, a variation, any kind of WH question is good, like a who question, what, where. Something like this, if you've been paying attention, you can use anyway to transition in your conversation. This was in a previous video. You can ask something like, anyway, up to anything fun this weekend? This is a pretty casual conversational question that you can ask just about anybody, whether you've just met them or whether you've known them for a while. But just get in the habit of asking other people the question. Don't wait for someone else to ask you the question. So that's one strategy that I try to use to keep things going.
Yeah, me too. I agree. And I'm going to say samesies because actually 2 of my questions were exactly what you said. Agree 100%. This is kind of cheating. These should be 1. But so always ask questions. So, again, you forget. It's really easy. I'm really guilty of this. English, non-English, whatever. I'm guilty of this. And the other thing is ask deep, open-ended questions. So if you ask a yes or no question, so again, like Alicia was saying, it just dead ends. You can't just say, do you like cheese? Yes or no, right? So you want to say, what do you think about cheese? What is your favorite kind? And kind of open it up to something else and let it just kind of snowball.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that's really a key. Like I have another variation on it, which I guess I'll just continue on to because it kind of relates to what you're talking about. Like he's saying, always ask questions, always ask deep, open-ended questions. So like you just said, don't ask a yes or no question because yes or no ends with the yes or the no. So one of the things that I'll do is use a pattern similar to this, like, hey, did you see or hey, did you hear about blah, blah, blah. So you can use this little blah, blah, blah as your, you can ask about the news. You can ask about something funny you saw on the internet. You can ask about, something that you heard from another friend of yours, whatever. It's just a way to check in with the other person and say, oh, did you also experience this thing that I experienced? Let's talk about that. So that might be another question that you can use with people.
I like that one. I really like that one because you got to stay within people's comfort zone. So maybe you ask and maybe they don't want to, right? So a good thing is, did you hear about it? That's up to them. Maybe they don't want to talk about it. They can say, oh yeah, I heard about that. And you can kind of feel the atmosphere and realize, maybe I shouldn't talk about this, change the subject. Or they get passionate and they start talking about it. And there you go. And just let it go. Yeah, absolutely. One thing, again, I'm guilty of is you do got to keep returning it.
Right.
Don't just say, oh yeah, and what I think about da-da-da-da-da. Bring it back, ask them, what about you? That's a common thing I forget about.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I have one more. This one, use when you see fit. Okay, I'll just introduce it. Compliment the other person or compliment the other persons. This can be a nice strategy just to show that you're enjoying the other person's company. It can be as simple as, oh, I like your shirt today, or oh, that's a nice dress you're wearing today, or oh, did you get a new haircut that looks good on you? Something like that. So this is a nice way to make the other person maybe want to spend more time with you, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%. 2 things. One, I think it's a good conversation starter sometimes. If you got to be careful. With a stranger, it can be creepy. It can be a little uncomfortable what you're complimenting, right? But if it's something like if they have a t-shirt and it's a band that you both like, that's a great conversation starter. And you feel, wow, we're connected, Number 2, the second thing I was thinking about is that keep it honest. I love a sincere compliment. It really means a lot more. And it really does butter them up, kind of get them open to having more conversations, deeper, that kind of thing. But one of the things people do, which I don't like, is let's say they say, hey, nice shirt. And then the person out of habit will say, oh, you too, I like your shirt too. Just my opinion, I don't think this feels really natural, doesn't really feel sincere. So I would save it, make a mental note and go, I need to return the favor. I need to give them a compliment. But wait until you notice something you really do like and say, hey, actually, I love blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like when you can sense whether someone is being sincere or not. What is your next strategy for continuing an English conversation?
Well, don't be afraid to open up. I like this one. I think this is good. A lot of people will be kind of shy. They won't open up too much. Again, within your comfort zone. But I like this one because people will return the favor. Because if you're just having small talk and you say, the weather's nice today, blah, 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 you can only go so far. So don't be afraid to say something personal. Again, trust your judgment. Don't be a creeper. We don't want to hear certain things about your life.
So don't be a creep. Don't be a creep. Don't be weird. Don't be strange. And like what you're saying about opening up. Open up is just a phrase that means share something about yourself. So it can be as simple as what you did last weekend or what you're going to do this weekend or a project that you have coming up. It doesn't mean that you have to spill all of your life secrets to the other person, but just showing that you're willing to share something more personal about yourself can help ingratiate yourself or can help, you know, make the other person help the other person understand you a little bit better. That's a good tip. I like that tip. That's hard to do though. It's hard. It's a little
Mm.
bit scary, I think,
Yeah.
to share parts of yourself, but it's good. It's a good way to meet people and make friends. All right. I think that's all. Is that all that you have?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. All right. Well, those are some interesting strategies to keep an English conversation going. So give them a try. If you're ever at a loss for words and don't know what to say, you can try one of these strategies and hopefully it will help you out. Please let us know if you have any other strategies or anything else that you would like to use or you try to use when you are having trouble keeping a conversation going. Leave us a comment and let us know what it is. We will see you again next time. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
That's about it.
All right, so thanks very much for joining us and take care. Bye-bye.
Top 10 language learning strategies. Let's begin. Befriending or dating someone who speaks English. Watching movies or listening to music in English. Read English newspapers or magazines. Record your voice and compare your pronunciation with native English speakers. Download dialogue tracks and listen to English conversations. Repeat the phrases that you hear out loud again and again. Review all the lessons on EnglishClass101.com to master them completely. Read lines slowly at first, then reread and increase your speed. Set small and measurable learning goals with your personal deadlines. Try harder lessons to challenge yourself and improve faster.
Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary, followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Look at this blouse, Jess.
Wow, that's a nice color. It looks very pretty on you, Ashley.
Thank you. I really like it.
Are you going to buy it?
I think I am, but I wish it were on sale. It's a bit expensive.
Well, there's no sales tax in Portland. Is that considered on sale?
Huh, that sealed the deal. I'll buy it.
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Blouse.
A woman's loose upper garment resembling a shirt.
Blouse. Blouse.
Our second word is
Color.
the appearance something has because of the way it reflects light.
Color. Color.
Next we have
Pretty.
visually pleasing, attractive.
Pretty. Pretty.
Next is
Buy.
to get something in exchange for money.
Buy. Buy.
Our next word is
Sale.
the exchange of a commodity for money.
Sale. Sale.
Next we have
Tax.
compulsory contribution to state revenue.
Tax. Tax.
Next is
Considered.
thought carefully about.
Considered. Considered.
Next is
Sealed.
the state of being joined or rendered impervious.
Sealed. Sealed.
And our last word is
Deal.
agreement or transaction between people.
Deal. Deal.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Look at this blouse, Jess.
Wow, that's a nice color. It looks very pretty on you, Ashley.
Thank you. I really like it.
Are you going to buy it?
I think I am, but I wish it were on sale. It's a bit expensive.
Well, there's no sales tax in Portland. Is that considered on sale?
Huh. That sealed the deal. I'll buy it.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
What city do you most want to visit?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh? Why Pittsburgh?
It's because my family is from there. When my great-great-great-grandparents came from England to the USA, they lived in Pittsburgh for several generations.
So you have family in the area?
Yeah, and lots of family history.
Now you will hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Visit.
To go to and stay at a place for a short period of time.
Visit. Visit.
Next we have
Family.
a group of people usually related by blood.
Family. Family.
Next we have
England.
the old name of the United Kingdom.
England. England.
Next we have
USA.
abbreviation for United States of America.
USA. USA.
Our next word is
Lived.
spend a part of one's life in a particular place.
Lived. Lived.
Next we have
Grandparents.
the parents of one's father or mother.
Grandparents. Grandparents.
Next is
Several.
more than two, but not many.
Several. Several.
Next we have
Generations.
all of the people born and living at about the same time.
Generations. Generations.
Next we have
Area.
within a region.
Area. Area.
And our last word is
History.
the record of everything that has happened to a group of people.
History. History.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
What city do you most want to visit?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh? Why Pittsburgh?
It's because my family is from there. When my great-great-great-grandparents came from England to the USA, They lived in Pittsburgh for several generations.
So, you have family in the area?
Yeah, and lots of family history.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free English ebook before it's gone.